Welcome back to my shop. My name's Guy. This time I'm going to start working on this, which is my new router table cabinet. Pretty much built all around INCRA parts, some new, some I've had previously. However, the cabinet was designed from the ground up. Now there is a complete set of plans, a cut list, and also a plywood cut list, and a Sketchup file available and a link in the description down below. This time I'm going to show you how I cut and installed the side panels, the back panel, the middle divider, the lower shelf, the dust collection system, and the electricals. So let's get to work. Well, this is my old router table. I built this about 10 years ago, and for the most part it's been a very good router table. It's been through a couple iterations, especially on the top. This is the third top. I replaced the fence a couple years ago. If anybody remembers the old INCRA twin linear 2 fence, that's what I originally had on here. I've installed a lift, the new router. The biggest problem with this has always been the drawers and the organization. The drawers are too small, they're too low, they're a pain in the butt to get to, and stuff is pretty much just thrown in here. I mean, this is my router bit storage. It's just thrown in there. So I need to get rid of all this and start new. In addition to the parts you're going to need from INCRA to make this router table, you're going to need a sheet and a half of 1/2-inch plywood and a half a sheet of 1/4-inch plywood. Now down below in the description for this video I've left a link where you can download the plans and a SketchUp file. The plans do include a complete cut list and also a panel layout to cut the plywood. You're going to need some 4-inch dust collection hose. You're not going to need this much. This is just a piece I had laying around. You're going to need some 2.5-inch hose. You're going to need 2 connectors for the ends of the 2.5-inch hose. You're going to need a 4-inch to 2.5-inch Y. You're going to need a 2.5-inch flange for the outside of the cabinet, a 4-inch flange for the outside of the cabinet to connect to your dust collection system, some hose clamps. You're also going to need 3 10-inch full extension drawer slides and 3 16-inch full extension drawer slides. Now I'm going to be using the router that I previously had in my old router table. I'm also going to carry over the INCRA MasterLift 2 system that I had in there and the INCRA LS25 positioner. Now this is the new equipment. I have a new top, I have a new base, I have the wheel kit, and I also have an INCRA Clean Sweep downdraft dust collection cabinet here. I highly recommend that you put this thing together completely exactly as it shows in the instructions. The instructions, just like everything else INCRA sells, is really, really high quality. Good illustrations, a lot of notes, a lot of tips and tricks to put this thing together easy. I'm going to start by breaking down the full sheet of plywood first. Most of the parts that go into the base itself come out of the sheet. So following the cut list and the plans that I laid out, I'm just going to start by cutting off one section of this, and then I'll break the rest of this down to get the pieces I need for the stand. Now I've got the back and the 2 sides in. I'm just going to double check the measurements for the bottom before I make that cut, and then I'll get the bottom piece put in. Now I have the sides, the back, and the bottom in. I can start cutting the pieces that'll fill out the rest of the interior of the cabinet. Well, if you're going to paint your panels that go into the router stand, now's a good time to do it. I painted mine a nice light gray. Well, this is the back of the stand. I need to put a dust collection port in this for the system. So I'm going to take the panel that goes in there and I'm going to put it in backwards into the slot. Now I need to take my dust collection fitting that I'm going to be using there. I'm going to put it on and mark out where I need to cut this hole. So I already cut the middle divider for the piece, and I need to cut a 6.5 by 6.5 inch notch in the back of this, and that's to allow the dust collection hoses to go through. Well, I have the middle divider installed to the bottom shelf with the pocket screws. Please note that make sure you put this overhang here. Those dimensions are laid out in the plans. Well, I put this top support piece in, and this is 2¼ inches. It's flush with the top and flush with the bottom of this rail here. And what I need to do is I need to put a screw in from here into here to tighten this up a little bit. Now I've got one of the drawer face pieces right here, and this is cut to actually 18 inches right now. It's a little bit oversized, and that's okay. But I need to put this in here. Make sure that that middle divider is square to this other edge, so I know it'll be square to this other edge. So I'm just going to put this in here, and I'm just going to clamp that up so that's nice and tight, and that'll give me that perfect 18-inch spacing across. Well, I put that screw in, and that pins the middle divider to the top support. The back is loose right now, and that's okay because I need to pull the back out to do some more work in the back there. But what's really important that is this middle divider is square to the front and square here also. There's going to be full extension drawer slides going throughout this cabin. If you've ever put full extension drawer slides in before, you know how critical it is to get all these interior dimensions as square as possible. It makes the drawer slide in and out much easier. Well, I took that 3/4 inch stock I just cut and cut two pieces, one about 16 3/8 and one 14 7/8. So I've got a spacer here, and the spacer and the 3/4 inch stock puts this at a height of 8.5 inches. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue, put that on there, give it a little bit of a rub, hold it to the front, and then put some 1-inch brads in. Now I've got that flange on the outside, I'm going to take this Y, and I've put a piece of 2.5 inch hose on it. This hose is long enough to reach to the other side of the cabinet from where it is. It's a little bit long for now, and that's okay. I'm just going to put it through here. Actually, I've got the middle shelf from over there as kind of a guide, but this will actually go in here in a friction fit. But what I want to do is get that in there and get that so this is as tight to this wall as possible. Well, this is how the dust collection system is going to lay out. I've got the 2.5 inch hose here. I've got the 4-inch hose here going up through this. I've left this long for right now. This is what's going to get hooked up to the bottom of the dust collection cabinet. This is what's going to get hooked up so you can hook up a hose to go to the fence. So it's kind of goofy, but it's the only way it's going to work with the Y. So that's going to go like this, and then it's got to come around. I've got the flange on here ready, and that's going to go like that. So I need to put the flange right there on the outside of the back of the plywood. Now I've got the flange installed in the front of the cabinet for the fence for the system, and most of the dust collection installed. This back piece isn't going anywhere anymore. So I've got that same 18-inch divider I used when I put the front piece in, and now I've got to secure the back of this. So I'm just going to clamp this in place and then go from underneath and drive a couple pocket screws into the back. Well, I've got the screws installed in the small divider, and it's really solid now. The whole cabinet has really stiffened up quite a bit. Now I've also put a zip tie right here, and what this is for is I want to make sure that this stays as closely grouped together as possible. There's a 10-inch depth drawer that goes here. I want to make sure that this doesn't interfere with that, and then the height of this doesn't interfere with the full depth drawer that goes all the way to the back here. That's the same thing over here. I've got two 10-inch depth drawers that go underneath here. I've got to snake this hose around, bring this hose up, and the way this is, it will not interfere with those two drawers that are going to go here. So I've taken the magnetic switch off my previous router table and mounted it on the front of the cabinet here. There's a hole in the back. The wire is fed through some holes, which eventually goes to the plug. Now this is something I really need to show you. Once this is installed in the router cabinet, you're not going to be able to get at the back anymore to put these screws in or put the power cable in. So what I've done is I've already attached it. I've put the retaining clip on. I've got some SO cable. This end will eventually get hooked up to the magnetic switch, and there's a wire inside that'll get hooked up to the router. Well, that's it for now. Next time I'm going to work on making and installing the 4 drawers that go on this side, the 2 drawers that go underneath, a door for this, putting the top on, putting the router and router lift in, putting the fence on, getting all that wrapped up, and then also showing you how I organize all my router bits and accessories. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.